We return now to our lead story tonight, the Supreme Court's judgment that WorkSafe's decision to not prosecute Peter Whittle over the deaths of 29 men in the Pike River mine explosion 7 years ago on last Sunday, was unlawful. The decision to not prosecute was made after Peter Whittle agreed to pay $3.5 million to the Pike River families. That word, unlawful, is not only a striking victory for Anna Osborne and Sonia Rockhouse, who took the case, but also for Nigel Hampton QC. Now, we spoke to both Nigel Hampton and Anna Osborne earlier in the program, and that interview is on our website if you didn't hear it. Lots of reaction to it, thank you. But we're going back to the lawyer who took the case to the Supreme Court and won. Nigel Hampton says this was something that mattered not only to the Pike families, but to us all.
There's a principle involved, John. I mean, never ever in my, I've been practicing law for 50-something years, and I've never in my education in the law, let alone in my practice of the law, ever thought that I would see the day when in exchange for money, a prosecution was put an end to, and it smelled in my nostrils when I first sniffed it, and it still does, and it always would. And I mean, to have a clear declaration that this is the principle and that we are still guided by principles in our system, it is a principled system. To allow this to happen would lead to corruption and an unprincipled system. It's as simple as that.
I was in the High Court in Christchurch that day. The decision not to prosecute on the basis of the WorkSafe payments was announced, or on the basis of the payments was announced. Yeah. And no one even really understood it. I don't think the families understood what they were being told.
No, I think that's probably right. They were never consulted, and they were presented with a fait accompli, and it was a stinking mess of excrement.
So where to now?
Where to now? I don't know. Well, it's the end of this part of it. I mean, the two women wanted to feel vindicated that they thought that this was wrong, and they were right in thinking that. And they want the public statement as unequivocal as you can get, and we've got it now, that this was wrong and that this shouldn't have happened, and that WorkSafe had to carry on with the prosecution or make a decision that they didn't have a case based on evidential factors, not on payment of money.
Peter Whittle is now living in New South Wales. Do you think, and I know now we are getting really into the realm of hypothesis and speculation, and that's never been your department, but do you think there is now a possibility that he will be prosecuted?
No, we didn't. In the end, the time has gone so far by now. Realistically, there's no prospect of picking up that prosecution now and doing it. The two women can't take a private prosecution because that's long out of time in terms of the legislation. And WorkSafe simply won't be, they wouldn't be interested. And to be realistic, and we talked about this with the women before we took the steps that we did take, realistically, the best result we could get is the very declaration that we've got now.
And so it was a point of principle, and also it was a line in the sand.
Yeah, well, it's a point of principle, and it's a point of principle that not only affects them, the two women, I mean, but it's an important point of principle for all New Zealand that we can, from the highest court, say that we do have a principled system of justice, that payment of money doesn't end court cases, criminal court cases, and nor it should. And if you're going to have a principled system of criminal justice, money can't enter into it. It's the old common law stifling a prosecution, and it's nice to know that our courts will now say stifling can't occur. Because, I mean, the potential of this was quite large. Imagine busy district courts up and down the country where they're presented with, and it's an example I used in the course of argument in the Supreme Court. Say someone's been in a serious motor crash and and the crash has caused death or serious injury, and they're charged with careless use causing death. They deny the charge the police case isn't the best in the world. They keep on denying the charge, but say, look, I've got about $35,000 or $40,000 here or something, and if I pay it to the families, and that'll ease, it'll pay for the funeral expenses, and it'll be some sort of solatium towards their grief and so on. And if I do that and they accept that, will you drop the prosecution? Our police prosecutors, if that's allowed to be introduced as this Whittle case would allow it, what effect is that going to have on prosecutions up and down the country? People are going to be buying off prosecutions all the time.
Nigel Hampton QC, who took the case to the Supreme Court for those reasons and the reason of that he discussed earlier with Anna Osborne.